The smell of burning metal filled the air. Smoke curled from the shattered remains of the ship, its once pristine hull now a twisted wreck embedded in the alien soil. The pilot crawled free, coughing, muscles screaming from the impact. The emergency systems had failed, the distress beacon was gone, and the nearest human outpost was light years away. Breathing heavily, they pushed up on shaky legs, scanning the landscape. Towering trees with black, spined leaves loomed overhead, their canopies blotting out most of the sky. The undergrowth swayed unnaturally, as if alive. Something moved in the distance, something big. Survival came first. Water, shelter, a weapon, priorities set in instantly. Training kicked in, numbing the growing ache in their ribs. A quick inventory check revealed a combat knife, a shattered sidearm with no charge, and a few rations. Useless. If they were going to make it through the night, they needed to adapt. The first few hours were spent mapping the immediate surroundings. The jungle pulsed with life, much of it hostile. Insect-like creatures the size of dogs skittered through the underbrush, their chitinous legs clicking against the rocks. A pack of six-legged predators with bioluminescent eyes watched from the trees, but they kept their distance. They knew something worse prowled these lands. Then the tracks appeared. Deep gouges in the dirt. Something massive had passed through recently. Claw marks shredded the bark of a nearby tree, each one larger than a human hand. The realization sank in, this wasn't just some animal. This was a hunter. A sudden shift in the atmosphere. The jungle fell silent. No clicking insects, no distant roars. Just an eerie, suffocating stillness. A shadow moved between the trees, slow, deliberate. A towering silhouette, its form obscured by thick mist. It was watching. Studying. The human's heartbeat quickened. Running wasn't an option. They barely knew the terrain. Hiding. Pointless. It had already found them. The only choice left was to be ready. Fingers tightened around the knife's handle. The alien shifted again, muscles rippling beneath armored hide. It wasn't in a rush. It knew it had the advantage. The human exhaled slowly. The first encounter was inevitable. It would come soon, and it wouldn't be easy. The hunt had begun. The attack came faster than expected. A blur of motion, a rush of air, and then impact, bone-jarring, breath-stealing. The human barely twisted in time to avoid a fatal strike, but the force sent them tumbling through the underbrush. Pain exploded through their side. Rolling to their feet, knife in hand, they faced the beast. Now fully visible, it was worse than imagined. Towering over them, its body was a fusion of muscle and plated armor. A predator engineered by nature to dominate. Its elongated skull had no visible eyes, just slits that flared with each breath. It didn't need sight. It hunted by sound, by movement. The human lunged first, aiming for the gaps in its armor. The blade struck true, then snapped. The beast didn't flinch. It countered with a sweeping claw, forcing the human to throw themselves back. A second too slow. Razor-sharp talons raked across their ribs, slicing through fabric and flesh. Blood soaked into the dirt. Pain could be ignored. Panic couldn't. The realization hit, nothing in their arsenal could kill this thing. No weapon, no strength, nothing human-made could match it. It struck again, faster, learning. A hammering blow caught the human's shoulder, sending them sprawling. Vision blurred, lungs screamed for air, but the instincts that had kept humanity alive for millennia took hold. Move. Adapt. Survive. Scrambling up, they backed away, putting distance between them and the beast. Every movement had to be calculated. It was powerful, but power meant nothing if it couldn't hit its target. The human shifted tactics, small, unpredictable movements, testing its reactions. The beast hesitated for the first time. It was used to prey running, not fighting. A new plan formed. Direct combat was suicide. But it wasn't invincible. No creature was. It could be hurt. It could bleed. And if it could bleed, it could die. For now, survival came first. The human took one last look at the monster before vanishing into the jungle. This wasn't over. The beast thought it had won. That was its first mistake. High in the trees, Crouched in the dense foliage, the human watched. Pain still throbbed through their side, but it no longer mattered. They had studied the creature, how it moved, how it hunted, how it reacted. Strength alone didn't win fights. Strategy did. The predator prowled the clearing, searching. It was confused. The human should have been easy prey. Instead, it was being hunted. The first strike came without warning. A sharpened branch, carefully placed, shot downward as the creature passed beneath. It deflected off its armored back, but the force staggered it. A second later, a rock slammed into the side of its head, right where the plating was thinner. It roared, snapping in the direction of the attack, but the human was already gone. It lunged into the trees, ripping apart brush and branches, but its size worked against it. It wasn't built for precision. Every attack was wide, sweeping, powerful, but wasted on empty space. The human moved like a ghost, striking, vanishing, striking again. Every wound was small, but they added up. It was bleeding now. Fatigue crept into its movements. The confidence it once had was gone. Frustration turned to desperation. It let out a guttural roar, challenging the unseen enemy. The human didn't answer. They were already setting the final trap. A pit, masked by leaves and branches. Shallow enough that the beast wouldn't die immediately, deep enough that it wouldn't escape easily. The human had spent hours carving jagged spikes into its floor. Now, they just had to lead it in. A final taunt, a rock bouncing off its skull, was all it took. The beast charged blindly, enraged, no longer thinking, only reacting. It crossed the final step. The ground collapsed beneath it. A screech of metal, a howl of pain. The jungle shook as it crashed down, impaled. But it wasn't dead yet. And now, there was only one way to finish this. The pit had done its job, but the beast still lived. It writhed, impaled on jagged spikes, its roars turning to guttural snarls. Blood, dark and thick, seeped into the earth. Even wounded, it was still dangerous. The human approached carefully. Every instinct screamed to keep their distance, but hesitation meant failure. One mistake, and the tide could turn again. The creature thrashed, trying to climb free, but pain slowed it. Its armored hide had taken the worst of the fall, but the spikes had done enough damage. It was weakening. The human dropped onto its back, wrapping an arm around its thick neck. The beast bucked, nearly throwing them off, but they held on, locking their grip. It was strong, but so was the human. Not in raw power, but in will. One arm hooked under its jaw, the other braced against its skull. Every muscle screamed in protest as the human wrenched with everything they had. The creature fought, claws scraping against the pit's walls. Then, something gave. A sickening crack. The body spasmed once, then stilled. Silence. The human rolled off, gasping for breath, staring at the lifeless body. Blood dripped from their hands, mixing with sweat and dirt. Every part of them ached, but it didn't matter. The predator was dead. For the first time since the crash, the jungle felt different. The eyes that had watched from the shadows were gone. The silence wasn't fear anymore. It was respect. The human stood, battered but unbroken. This world had a new apex predator now.